Hello everyone! Welcome back to a very special video. I'm DTM as always, and in this video, we will be going over the newly released weapon refines. Yes, it's April 2022, and we have a batch of 5 new weapon refines. And honestly, I'm very excited about this batch for one particular unit, but we'll get into that. For now, let's go over these best builds, analyze these refines, and see where they rank, from S being Brave Hector, and E being for Effie, I guess. But yeah, without further ado, let us begin. But before that, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help support this channel out a lot, and I really do appreciate all the constant support. So yeah, the first unit of this batch that we'll go over is none other than Spring Veronica. And Spring Veronica has always been sort of lackluster in terms as a unit, being a green mage flyer with not a lot of access to skills. But with this refine, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, she gets all stats plus 4 and the ally blade tome effect. So basically, she takes the bonuses, the total amount of bonuses from the highest ally within 2 spaces, and the number of that bonuses gets boosted onto her attack. So for instance, if she's supported by, say, Corrin, male Corrin, who has plus 6 to all of his stats, so plus 24 total, she will get a plus 24 boost in her attack. And so this is really good because unlike normal blade tomes, she isn't being affected by lull skills, and just really boosts her damage output. In addition, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, she gets plus 6 attack and speed visible buff to herself and that ally, and grants the orders buff to herself and her ally. This is something that is extremely powerful. Orders and mobility in general is extremely important in today's meta, and her granting that extra mobility in addition to the attack and speed is really cool. This is one of the things why Bridal Catria is so good, other than triangle attack. It allows other units to basically just warp in and have a higher range. Now obviously, Spring Veronica is no Bridal Catria, like not even close. Like, Spring Veronica does not have triangle attack, which is the main reason why Bridal Catria is really good. But still, she can provide that mobility support, in addition to being able to nuke really hard. And in addition, if units within 3 spaces of an ally, she gets plus 5 attack and speed in combat. So pretty much you just want to build attack and speed. That's the main thing. She wants to go in, nuke, and nuke hard. And so as you can see from the sample build on the left, we have Swift Sparrow 3. This could be a change to like attack speed catch or any other attack speed skill. We have Speed Res Far Trace, which if you're going to use this on defense, I would swap that to a different skill actually. But for in the player's hands, like Far Trace is definitely the preferable option. And then Speed Res Rain to further increase the damage output, and Blade Session again, boosting that attack and speed. And yeah, pretty much straightforward build, I would say. She does nuke really hard and provides that mobility support. Unfortunately, I don't think that she really has a place compared to something like Bridal Catria, who not only provides orders buff, but also triangle attack. And Veronica is sharing Bridal Catria's color. And so I don't think you would really see her on defense that much, or in Summoner's Duels. Like, she can't exactly pre-charge specials like Harmonic Sonia can. But no, she's still a pretty powerful unit in her own right. And so I think in terms of her refine, I'd give her a B. But yeah, the next unit in this batch of refines is none other than Tibarn. So Tibarn gets a total of plus 10 attack and defense if you meet all his conditions, plus 5 if the unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, an additional plus 5 if foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75% or the unit is transformed. So that is a lot of attack and defense. Also, if foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75% or the unit is transformed, he gets a guaranteed follow-up attack. So you no longer have to like be in the player phase in order to have that. This now also works on the enemy phase. In addition, if he is greater than or equal to 25% HP, he also has special cooldown charge +1. So he no longer needs to run Heavy Blade if you say want to run a Gale Force build on him. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't have Slaying or Canto in his weapon, which I feel would have made him really good as a Gale Force option. Like Sumiya, even though she doesn't have Slaying, she does have Wham and Canto in her weapon, which makes her really good as a Gale Force unit. But Tibarn doesn't have Canto or Wham, so you sort of have to choose one or the other. And the lack of Slaying in addition to that, like that's just a trifecta, so it really does hurt. He sort of has to run Quicken Pulse, which does of course limit his a damage output, but he will still work as a Gale Force unit. Like in this build here, obviously we have Near Trace, Sturdy Impact, Savage Blow for the chip damage, and of course the Gale Force build, Quicken Pulse to get that down to 4. So as long as he attacks twice, he should be able to proc that. You can swap out the B for something like Wham if you want him as an initiator, as a follow-up unit, or, I don't know, Flow Guard if he can run that. But the problem with Tibarn is that there's just a lot of Gale Force options that do have Slaying, do have Canto, that just does this job better. Even though he has like the special cooldown charge +1. And so, unfortunately, I feel that he can work, but I don't think he is optimal by any means. So, I have to rank this weapon refine as a C. But yeah, the next unit in this batch is none other than Selkie. So, Selkie has a pretty unique refine. If unit's res is greater than foe's res, she gets all stats +4 and a bonus to her stats equal to 80% of the difference between the unit stats versus the foe stats, maximum of 8. So for example, if Selkie has a 10 more attack than her foe, then she'll get an additional bonus to her attack by 8. 80% of 10 is 8. And so, yeah, this just gives her a lot of stats, especially if she already outstats her opponent. So you could sort of like double down on that. In addition, if unit initiates or is within 2 spaces of an ally, she again gets all stats +4 and gets the following effects based on the difference between the unit's res minus the foe's res. If that difference is greater than or equal to 1, she inflicts guard on the opponent. And if it's greater than or equal to 5, she gets half of NFU, the one that negates impact effects, so neutralizes effects that prevents units' follow-up attacks. So yeah, basically the idea with Selkie with his refine is to stack res and just stack stats in general. So yeah, you can see here on the sample build, we do have attack res catch 4, again, just to stack attack and res so that we can meet these res checks. SD Near Trace also helps with the stat differences as well. Blade Session, of course, boosts the attack and speed, so she hits hard and hopefully will double, especially with that half NFU. And Fatal Smoke is there to just inflict the foe with penalties. This C slot is pretty flexible. You can run like any smoke, which can definitely help with these stat swings. And so for Selkie herself, I think she will be a very good combat unit. Unfortunately, I don't think there really is a place for her for a Beast Cavalry unit that just does combat. I mean, you can get her to hit and run, sort of, but Beast Cavs, I feel, are generally not that great options in the current metagame. Like, you can't really run them in Arena. They're not really present in Summoner's Duels or Aether Raids offense or defense. And so unfortunately, I don't think she really does anything special to stand out to overcome that. And so, unfortunately, I mean, she will still be pretty good. Like, she's not bad by any means. She's a really good unit and can definitely outstat your opponents a lot. But unfortunately, I don't think she really stands out. And so I have to give her a C. Still good, but obviously not the best. But yeah, next one on the refine is Ylgr, and oh boy, Ylgr has a very spicy refine. Let's start from the top. If unit speed is greater than foe speed, or foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75%, she gets +5 attack at speed and deals true damage equal to 15% of unit speed. And so this is in the base effect, and obviously true damage is extremely good. And just giving +5 attack and speed is really good as well. So obviously she wants to hit hard and hit fast. But this is where the fun part begins. She inflicts -X to all stats to foes within 3 spaces of her. And X is determined by the higher of the unit's buffs or foes' debuffs calculated independently. So to give an example, if say she has +6 attack, a foe within 3 spaces during combat will be inflicted by a -6 in combat debuff just because of this weapon and her having that +6 attack. In addition, if the foe already has a -6 visible penalty, if that foe is within 3 spaces of Ylgr, in combat, that foe will be inflicted by an additional -6 attack on that stat. And so this is a huge daunt effect, and basically is sort of like Hinoka, Kinshi Hinoka, but just for a maximum of -7 to all stats. It's really crazy. And so this is a really good support option, especially for something like a save ball. If you just put her and completely buff her up, +7 to all stats, she will inflict -7 to all stats as enemies are coming into that save ball and just wreck them. This is a really good support option, and honestly, it's something that I wish Aversa had, but we'll get to Aversa later. In addition, she gets +4 to attack and speed if she is greater than or equal to 25% of HP, but no, this, I want to say Plegian Rain effect, or buff rain effect, I guess, is really, really good. So basically, if you wanted to use her as a support option, here's a sample build where you have Defra's Link and Attack Speed Oath to grant +6 to defense and res, +5 to attack and speed, so that she will debuff enemies by -6 to defense and res and -5 to attack and speed. Obviously this isn't -7, but she's able to do this by her own with this build. Obviously, if you want to do +7 buffs, you can run Legendary Azura or Hone Skills, or if you want to rely more on debuffs, you can use her in a Wind Sweep build and just go in and attack the enemy to inflict the dagger debuffs, -7 to defense and res, and potentially a smoke skill like Attack Smoke, and get the debuffs that way, and so this weapon would still be procced. And yeah, that is just an example of how you can use her in that support capability. And of course, even with that, the true damage she will provide will definitely allow her to nuke as well. And I cannot express this enough. This effect is extremely powerful. Being able to inflict these incredible debuffs on the foe to all stats is incredible. She's an incredible support unit. You can even run Sudden Panic on her to have the enemies panicked for even more support options. And yeah, honestly, she is definitely an A weapon refined. But yeah, last but certainly not least, we have Aversa. So Aversa Her new weapon is, if foe's HP is less than or equal to unit's HP -3 and foe is adjacent to another foe, she inflicts a visible debuffs to -4 for all stats to a foe, and the panicked effect. So that was sort of already in her base weapon previously, except instead of -3, it's -4. And in addition, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, inflicts -4 attack speed res in combat debuff on the foe. So yeah, honestly pretty straightforward, and the refine effect is that if foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75%, or the foe has a penalty, she gets the Plegian effect. And so yeah, this refine doesn't really offer any more supportive capabilities, but instead boosts her combat. And the Plegian effect is really, really good on Aversa and synergizes well. For me personally though, I personally would have preferred a more supportive effect in her weapon refine. Like, Aversa's Knight is pretty much going to be a support weapon in most cases. And honestly, I would have liked if she gotten Ylgr's refine with that -X infliction on the foe based on the debuffs present. Like, I think even though like the Plegian effect does really work well thematically, like having a Plegian rain effect like Ylgr still works thematically and will still develop that regional identity that I had talked about in a previous video, and just would have been a lot better weapon refine for Aversa in her role. And it would have still helped with her combat too, right? But I mean, regardless, this is still a solid weapon refine. Like, Aversa is still a solid unit. And so, honestly, you can still run our dual flying 4, like boost that HP and get +2 to all stats, and then just really boost her combat capabilities with like SR Far Trace, Speed Res Rain, Blade Session, the works. I mean, alternatively, if you really want to boost up that HP, you can run HP +5. You just need to run a 300 SP C skill, like Joint Drive Attack, in order to not lose score. But this is still max scoring, so you could still use this in Arena, and would still score optimally. But yeah, Aversa's refine is solid. I think she is a good unit. I just wish she had the Plegian rain effect that Ylgr had, and yeah, I feel like that would have still worked thematically and would have been a lot better for a supportive unit like her. But I mean, it's still solid, so I'll give it a B ranking. So yeah, that is all the weapon refines in this batch. And to recap, I do think Ylgr is the winner of this batch. Having that Daunt effect is extremely powerful, and it offers a lot of supportive capabilities. So I personally put her in A. Honestly, she might even be S, depending on how people use her and how effective she turns out to be as, you know, we learn more and people use her more. But yeah, definitely A and the winner in my books. Close would be Veronica. That orders buff that she gets plus the allied Blade Tome effects makes her a very powerful nuke. And of course, Aversa's here. She's still good. Panic plus the debuffs is still amazing, and the Plegian effect helps her in the combat. C, which I say are okay refines. You know, Tibarn has an okay refine. +1 special cooldown charge is still good, helps with Gale Force procs. And Selkie, just having a lot of stats, plus inflicting guard and half of NFU is good. But again, unfortunately, I feel like those are just okay, and not particularly, does not really stand out. But yeah, that is my review and analysis of these weapon refines. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree or have any additional builds that you think of for these weapon refines. I would love to hear what you have to say. And yeah, overall, I don't think any of these units have been FE'd or anything like that. Like, all of them are at least very solid. I am honestly still disappointed by Aversa. Like, just give her Ylgr's refine. Like, that would have worked so well. But no, like, Ylgr I think is definitely the star of this of this batch. having that Daunt effect, and Spring Veronica being able to grant the Orders buff is really good as well. Tibarn and Selkie are still solid. And yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed that, and if you did, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help support this channel a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And yeah, let me know in the comments who's your favorite weapon refine. And yeah, see you all next time.